Now, Andy Mok joins us. He's a senior research fellow at the Center for China and Globalization. Andy, always a pleasure to see you. A lot to talk about here. It has been an active few days in Beijing. Time for China and its attendees at the BNR Forum to reflect on 10 years, but also, as President Xi laid out, a time to look ahead. I'm curious what you think about this term, small yet smart projects moving forward. What will the transition be?
Absolutely, Sean. So it's hard to believe that it already has been 10 years for the Belt and Road, and there have been a number of very, very important achievements from railways, ports, to, as you say, smart yet small projects as well, that I think of as perhaps like 1,000 points of light in a darkening geopolitical environment. So we've seen earlier in this package just the dramatic change that really does not have global significance at a macro level, but makes it easier for someone in Africa to get their seafood to market without spoiling, saving time to cross a bridge. These are actual, real, tangible improvements that individually might not merit a lot of global attention, but in the aggregate, I think really are having a very positive impact. And we, of course, have to consider this in parallel with some of these larger projects like the acceleration of the China-Europe Railway, other major infrastructure projects that do indeed have a macro level impact as well.
And so the smaller, yet smart programs moving forward, how different will that look than what we've seen over the past 10 years? Because one thing I've had a difficulty talking to my friends who aren't as familiar with this here in the U.S., it's just, BNR is just such a massive project. You have everything from that massive port in Peru that could open up China to Latin America, in Pakistan, the corridor there, various projects that you talked about. I mean, it is really very, very large and very something that's going to have a ripple effect for quite some time.
Absolutely, Sean. And I think that's a great point. I think many people that watch CGTN, well, I shouldn't say this, but at least some people that watch CGTN are in the developed world like the United States and Western Europe. And they're very, very far removed from the daily challenges facing people in the global south, because I think people that live in the United States take many things for granted. Like when you flip a switch, you automatically expect the lights to come on. When you turn the tap, clean water comes out. And I think many people don't even think of these things, whereas in the global south, these are very real daily challenges. So I think that these small yet smart projects can also perhaps help people in the developed world have a greater sense of empathy for other people that are in less developed places around the world. I think this also highlights that China has marked some incredible technological and economic achievements in recent years, but still is very close to the developing world and has an intimate firsthand understanding of what it takes to improve the lives of people in very practical ways.
Yeah, Andy, to your point, the Solomon Islands attending the forum this year, a region affected severely by climate change, more frequent, more powerful storms, plus rising oceans. Now, what do you make of the fact that one key goal moving forward, focusing on green projects?
Absolutely. So I think one of the, or three of the themes is open, clean, and green for the Belt and Road Initiative. So open, of course, meaning that it is accessible to anybody that wants to participate, whether they're the most advanced economies in the world to those that are still fighting to get on the path to sustainable development. Green, of course, meaning sustainable. We all are very aware of the climatic challenges facing the world. And of course, this is a threat, but it's also an opportunity as well. And clean, of course, meaning transparent, efficient, accountable. So clearly, I think the Solomon Islands, like others in the Pacific, are facing a unique set of climatic challenges, and I think are very eager to look to China for technical support, as well as other types of partnership to address these challenges.
Andy, newscasts around the world right now are focusing so much on conflict in the Gaza Strip area, also ongoing in Ukraine. And one thing that you said just a minute earlier, to quote you, this darkening geopolitical landscape. Now, one thing Belt and Road is doing is trying to tie the world together. Talk about this juxtaposition of these two differing philosophies that are out there going around right now, and how you think China is going to be looked at in the next 5 years.
Absolutely. That's such an important point, Sean. So the U.S., particularly President Biden, has been framing the competition between China and the United States, or I would say one set of countries that he calls the democracies versus authoritarians. I think a more accurate way of describing it is there is a group of countries that seems committed to death and destruction all around the world. And then there's China and other countries in BRICS, and now the BRICS expansion, that really is committed to life and prosperity and sustainable development. And we see in the unfortunate conflict now taking place in Israel, that China has taken a principled stand, saying that this conflict should be resolved peacefully versus blindly taking one side without considering the interest of other stakeholders. And I know this is a very difficult, contentious subject that many people have a personal stake in. So it's very, very controversial. But I think that history will show that China's approach of emphasizing life and prosperity will be the one that the world embraces.
And I think it also speaks volumes that the UN General Secretary was there. But moving on, as much as anything, this past decade has showed how China is filling a void arguably left by the EU and the United States. At the same time, the United States and European nations are skeptical at best looking at the Belt and Road Initiative. I'm curious about your thoughts on that.
That's absolutely correct, Sean. So again, I think we have to come back to this idea that China is indeed a manufacturing powerhouse. It leads in some of the most important technologies in the world. And at the same time, it still is, in many ways, a developing country. So it faces many of the same challenges, or has only recently overcome these challenges. So I think the empathy and the visceral understanding that China has of challenges facing the global South, including threats from the quote-unquote developed world, really puts China in a position to not only understand what needs to be done, but also possessing the financial, technological resources to actually do something about it. And I think that really positions China uniquely in the world. And we're seeing, this Belt and Road Forum, I think, had 150 countries, more than 30 international organizations participating. And we shouldn't only look at this as a point in time, but look at the growing acceptance and desire to be part of these Chinese inspired organizations. It's not just BRI, it's BRICS, it's SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation
AIIB,
model is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Our friend Andy Mok, thanks so much for your insight, my friend. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean.